speculators have been waging an all-out war on the American dollar.
Could this really be where it all ends? The United States dollar represents 60% of all currencies exchanged worldwide. And yet you got the BRICS all coming up with their own way to exchange, not using the dollar. You see, the dollar right now, we call it the petrodollar because it's what the oil is valued in. And now, with our tensions against China, and our tensions with Russia, they're talking about not exchanging it in the US dollar. Could that be the end? My name's Chris Naugle. This is What Now? What's next for the dollar? So let's talk about the dollar. The dollar is the reserve currency. It is what we all know and we all use to exchange for goods and services. It's what the world uses to value oil in. It's used by 60% of all exchanges throughout the world. Look back to the Roman Empire. See, the Roman Empire got so big that when they actually started running out of money, what they started doing is clipping the coin. They would clip the corners of the coin to make more coins, and people wouldn't realize it at first, but eventually they caught on to this. It's kind of the same thing that's happening right now. If you look at the dollar and the purchasing power of the dollar, it's lost 95% of its value since it started. So what does that mean for the next 5 or 10 years when they just keep printing more and more money? Well, that means there's got to be a change, or that means other countries are going to make the change and force the change, which is exactly what you're seeing, and usually that doesn't end well. If you look back in history, that usually results in some type of a war. Oh wait, we've already got a war going on. We got Russia, Ukraine, and the US seems to just keep meddling in that war with Russia. And that pisses Russia off, pisses Putin off. And then he goes and he starts meeting with China and meets with India, he meets with Brazil. And I just heard something about France too, which surprised the heck out of me. And they start talking about, hey, let's get with the Saudis and let's find a better way to value oil and let's get rid of those United States dollars. So let's go back to what it means to be the world reserve currency. You see, every 94 years it changes. Let's look back in time. You see, France, 1720 to 1850, they were the reserve currency. Then it went to Britain in the 19th century. In the first half of the 20th century, Britain was the leading reserve currency. And then the United States of America for the past 60 years. And that all came to be with the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1942 to 1944. You see, the Bretton Woods Agreement stated that there was going to be a system through which fixed currency exchange rates could be created using gold as the universal standard. The agreement involved representatives from 44 nations and brought about the creation of the IMF. Now, I don't know if that was such a good thing, but the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank were created. And all that was good and great until our buddy Nixon.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
Right then and there, the petrodollar was born. And the only thing we really had was, number one, we were the reigning empire, okay? Many of you remember that. We won the war. We were the strongest military, the greatest economy on earth, and we were the strongest nation in the world. It only made sense that our dollar, our currency, was the strongest currency. And therefore, it made sense that they would go out and strike a deal with the Saudis, that they were going to provide protection to the Saudis in return for the ability for oil to be valued in the US dollar. But let me take you back in time to April 5th, 1933. You see, Franklin Roosevelt issued an executive order for all people to deliver all their gold bullions, their gold certificates, and all their gold coins. They had to turn them all in within 1 month. And if they didn't turn them in, what was to happen is they could serve up to 10 years in prison or be fined $10,000. That was like a $180,000 penalty by today's terms. So of course, people turned in all their gold. Let's go back to reality. Although today the dollar is not pegged to gold, I know other nations, and there's been a lot of talk of China buying up a ton of gold, and there's been talk of Russia backing their currency in gold. Is the United States going to go back to pegging the dollar to gold, or is the United States going to adopt what the rest of the world seems to be working on as well, digital currency, the CBDC? Now, I'm not going to get into that too much in this video, but it's worthy of talking about. Now, you may have heard about this. It's called FedNow. That's right, and they're going to begin testing this as soon as July of 2023. Most people don't trust the government right now. Matter of fact, they just did a survey, and only 20% of the US population actually trusts the government, which if you don't have a reference point, you'd say, well, I guess that's about right. But let's just go back to the 1950s, the golden age. In 1958, they did a survey, and the survey was all about whether or not people trust the government and whether or not they see that the government is there for their better good. You know what it came out with? 74% of the people trusted the United States government during this golden age. Fast forward to now, that doesn't seem like it's all that long, but now only 20%? Something is happening over there in DC. Actually, something's happening because the government has made us all not trust them, because we all know the government's got a hidden agenda. And that hidden agenda is, well, they want control. They want control of your guns. They want control of your money. They want control of your life. And unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, but they're probably going to get that at least with your money, because there isn't a darn thing you, me, or anyone else can do to stop this from happening. See, when you really talk about a CBDC, a digital currency, just like FedNow, what they're going to be doing, you see, transactions would trade instantly. Unlike Zelle's kind of almost like an IOU. It's still got to clear through a bank, where FedNow would clear instantaneously. So when they need to send you your stimulus checks because they want more people saving money, more people having money, they want to stimulate the economy, it would be instantaneous. But on the flip side of that, when they wanted to slow things down and curb that inflation, just like right now, what they would do is literally flip a switch and all of a sudden limit the amount of money we can spend, limit the amount of money we can buy things with, limit just about anything. All that comes back to control, what we do and how we do it. Now, that would be a doomsday look at it. You know, if you really want to know what the CBDC will be, it'll be no different than what we do today, except for now, instead of paper dollars, we will have digital cards that we will use, just like your credit card, and that's how we'll pay for things. We'll get paid for things. Now, here's what the government probably loves about it. We won't even need to file tax returns, because they're gonna know exactly how much money we get paid, because everything will be digital. No more cheating those tax returns. They'll just send you a bill at the end of the year, because they'll know exactly how much money you got paid. No more of that cash job. Hey, you got to pay me cash and I'll save you the tax. Yeah, those days, they'll be gone. Let me give you a little info about CBDC and how close we really are. So here's some stats. Right now, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and Nigeria are all using some form of digital dollar. And if you look at all the other nations, all the other countries out there, 18 of them are already testing this. 32 of them are in the development stages. 39, well, they're trying to figure it out, they're researching it. And then you got 15 are inactive, and only 2 have canceled the idea of doing a digital currency. That means there's 114 countries involved in this whole shenanigans. 95% of the world's GDP is focused on this. There's nothing you can do about it. If they want a digital currency, well, they're gonna get it. So if you stay to the end of this video, I'm gonna tell you some things you can do which won't avoid CBDC, but it'll put you in a much better place, put you back in control of some of your money, and avoid a lot of the pitfalls that are gonna come with this digital currency. But you gotta stay to the end. Oh, and while we're at this, why don't you right now click that little subscribe button and the little bell up top, because it helps me a lot. And you know what, if you like this content, throw me a like, because hey, I'm doing this to try to help you. Now, some of you probably are thinking, hey, Chris, man, that sounds a lot like crypto. Isn't that what crypto's trying to do? All this stuff, what they're trying to make, us to be able to exchange things? Correct. It is a lot like crypto. Matter of fact, it's identical to what crypto is, with one major exception. Crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all those others, is decentralized. The CBDC, the government digital currency, well, that will not be decentralized. That will be centralized, which means that takes control away from you. So if you really listen to what I'm teaching day in and day out, it's teaching you how to be in control of your money. So let's get real. A lot of people are worried about the United States not being the leading empire. A lot of people are worried about the dollar going to zero and the CBDC. That's not gonna happen anytime soon. It might not even happen in some of our lifetimes, but it could. I'm not sitting here trying to predict the future. I'm only focused on the now. But I gotta talk a little bit about what's next. So let's focus on some of the key fundamentals that will probably make you sleep a little bit better at night when you understand how strong the United States is in the grand scheme of things. Because when you look at the United States Treasuries, okay, which are the IOUs that the United States of America issues, they come in denominations of 2-year and 10-year and 30-year, and I talk about them all the time. Matter of fact, you should find one of my videos, and at the end, I'll put one up, where I talk about why right now might be one of the best times ever to put some of your money into those United States of America Treasury bonds. That's right, I'm not making any recommendations or suggestions, but the facts are the facts. You can buy them really low right now because rates are going up. And if you hold them, well, number one, you get paid to hold them because you get an interest rate, a yield, but also it's like an X, okay? When interest rates are going up, the price of the bonds are going down. So price down when interest rates are up. Got it? So what's been happening? Interest rates have been going up. So what's been happening to the price of bonds? Price is going down. But what's gonna happen in the future? You've heard about this in the news. Eventually, the Fed will start lowering interest rates. So now let's come back to that same x-axis. So now the Fed starts dropping interest rates down. What happens to the price of your bonds? That's right, they go up. Warren Buffett says it best. How do you make money in investing? You buy low. And number 2, you sell high. And number 3, you don't lose money. But who else understands this? Well, let's talk about who owns those US Treasury bonds outside of the giant mutually owned insurance companies that I talk about every single day, and you and I, and possibly banks, but also countries. Let's talk about little old Japan. How much in US Treasuries do they own? Well, 1,082 billion. Let me convert that. Is that a trillion? But not only that, China. How much does China own? 870 billion. That's right. So even though China is saying, oh, the US dollar, poo-poo on that, they own an awful lot of our debt. Now, I don't know whether that's good or bad, but it certainly shows the strength of the United States of America. Not only that, let me go into one other thing. The United States has roughly $7.2 trillion in foreign investments and treasury debt. That's right. So are we well positioned going into this? We are. We got a little problem with the government and people trusting the government, but you know what? Look who's running the country right now. Do I need to say any more? Not to get political, but the facts are the facts.
Repeat the line.
So right now, going back to those treasury bonds, the federal funds interest rate is being increased, which is attracting a whole lot of people because it's increasing the value of the United States dollar, which encourages foreign investors, well, to park their money in treasury bonds. So if the interest rate's right, it's just economics. Other countries, whether they like us or not, they're gonna put their money where they're gonna get the best return. Capitalism at its best. So what should you be doing with your money? Well, we already talked about treasury bonds. You could do what Japan and China and giant mutually owned insurance companies are doing. You can park some money in treasury bonds. Again, not a recommendation or a suggestion, just talking about the facts, because they are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. But what I would actually probably suggest you do, I would suggest you really look at your entire portfolio. And I would suggest that you get diversified. And I don't mean diversifying amongst those couple mutual funds in your 401k. I mean diversify amongst asset classes. The second thing you should really do, and I said this already, is take back control of your money. Stop giving control away to Wall Street. Stop giving control away to the banks. Stop buying those CDs. Stop getting lured into the bank money market fund because they pay you 0.00125%. Take back control. Learn how to be a good steward of your own money because nobody cares more about your money than you do. And while you're at that, why don't you learn how to be your own bank? Why don't you learn how to mimic what the banks do? Why don't you practice what I practice, and that is the infinite banking concept. And that concept is nothing more than the process of you taking back the banking functions in your life. Instead of paying credit cards interest, pay yourself interest. Instead of paying interest on that car loan, pay yourself the car loan. Now, I know you probably don't understand that, but I've got plenty of videos that show you how to do that. So one last ask, because I'm gonna ask twice today because this is so vitally important that you need to help me help you.
Help me help you.
So why don't you subscribe to this channel right now? Just click that little button there that says subscribe, and right up top, smash that bell so that you're notified every time I put a new video up, and throw me a like and share this with somebody that you really like. Hey, if you like this video, you're gonna wanna check that one out because I talk about treasury bonds and what they could mean for you. With that being said, this was What Now? What's Next? I'll see you on the next one.